It is my great pleasure to introduce to you today Catherine Bray. She's an environmental specialist with the City of Tallahassee Stormwater Management Division. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Michelle. Good to see
and
you.
kind of the person behind the whole idea of the Water Atlas, we have Dr. Jim Griffin. He's an environmental scientist, a professor, and an associate in research at the Florida Center for Community Research and Design, as well as with the University of South Florida. So welcome to our show.
Thank you, Michelle.
And thank you for coming to Tallahassee today. We appreciate having you here.
Right.
Now, if you would, Jim, start out telling us a little bit about what kind of data is out there, and how did you get the idea of saying we need to make this more easily accessible to the people in Florida?
Okay, there's a tremendous amount of data, and the problem has always been that the data is not delivered spatially. In other words, when you have a lake, what are the data around the lake? What watershed is that lake in? What is the condition of the lake? The water chemistry of the lake? What stormwater pipes flow into the lake? What birds live on the lake? What's the history of the lake? What do people think about the lake? What is the elevation today? What rainfall? All those data, and there's much more, are presented on the Water Atlas by a water resource.
Okay, and you came up with the idea of doing this and then marketed it to counties and cities throughout the state?
The history of it is, and it actually goes along with my history, I graduated with my doctorate after retiring from the Navy. So I started my career a little late. And I went to Hillsborough County as their scientist and lake manager. And at that time I was told, create an atlas of lakes. And I was given a book that actually was built here at Florida State, Atlas of Resources in Florida, and that was the concept, except that we put it on a website.
Okay.
And we related everything to water resources.
Well, and then I guess, Catherine, then the question becomes, how did we get hooked into the Water Atlas?
Well, the Water Atlas started as a wish of the Watershed Management Policy Board, and that's a board of city and county staff and two commissioners, City Commissioner Debbie Lightsey and County Commissioner Cliff Thale, and other staff and local environmental professionals. And their goal was to look at environmental issues from a watershed perspective, since watersheds are unique in the area. And one of the first things they said is we need to have a central database for the data that we've collected, the city and the county. So in looking around, we found USF and their Water Atlas that they've started in Central Florida.
I know I've had a chance to go and play on the website, and we'll take a look at it in a minute, but I guess sometimes when people hear us talking about this, it's like, oh, you know, I would like to know a little bit about the wildlife there. I might want to know how clean the water is. Do I feel safe being in it? But one of the things is sometimes when you get into scientific information and data, people are scared of it. It's like, oh no, is this going to be too much for me to be able to look at and really comprehend? How do you all address that?
Well, we started the Atlas to address citizen needs, and so we've always tried to make the information available to citizens in terms that they can understand. Certainly there are a lot of scientific data on the Atlas, but there's also a lot of information that's just general information. And we try to make it by presenting it as a map, and everybody understands a map. We try to make it very accessible to the citizen. So, and really, Catherine was mentioning that we came up here. That was actually 10 years after we started the Atlas, so it had been going on for 10 years, and this is our first venture into northern Florida.
Okay, and we're awfully glad you're here. You know, Catherine, I know when the Watershed Board was looking at this, they were talking about trying to reach everybody from teachers that could do stuff in their classrooms to scientists who really are doing very in-depth research beyond what I would want to know, as well as citizens. Tell me a little bit about how we've included our citizens in this process, because I think that's been a fun part of this initiative.
Well, for starters, that's one of the things that I like the most about the Atlas, is that different users of all different skill levels can use the Atlas. So starting with citizens and residents, if they want to find out about their nearby lake or stream, they can go to the Atlas, find it on a map, or find it by using a search tool, and get very general water quality information easily. It's right there where the atlas pulls from data behind the scenes and summarizes general trends, and with one click they can see a 2-year trend of that water body. They can, there's a lot of information that explains what that water quality means, and students and residents can see that. Scientists can go deeper into the atlas and use specialized query tools that they have on the atlas, and they can pull a very specific set of data for the water body that they're looking into.
Okay. Now, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Oh, I was going to talk about what's available for teachers and students, and there is an education tab on the Water Atlas that will have a link to curriculum that Pinellas County already developed, and it uses the atlas for classroom studies that you can then connect to go to the field. And the ideas that can be created for assignments can be applied to math, science, social studies, and even language arts students there.
You know, we always have these science projects that the kids have to do every year, and I think the Atlas has got to be the best new tool for kids looking for what's going to be my science project this year, because we have that data. Well, let's take a look at the Water Atlas. I do want to remind people you can always get there by going to TalGov. You can go to talgov.com. The Watershed Board has protectourwater.org. You can do that. In addition, the easiest way to get there is to go directly to the site. It's www.tlcwateratlas, one word, .usf.edu, and that's where we are right here. So tell us a little bit about some of the things we can see on the site, Jim.
Well, first, this site is our new, what we call our One Atlas site, and Tallahassee was one of the, Tallahassee and Leon County were one of the first to get this site.
Okay.
In the center, you see Welcome to the Water Atlas. That's text and links that the county or city can put in or provide to our content manager who puts it in. And so it allows them to always update and change the atlas.
Okay.
On the one of the features of the atlas is the fact that it's all spatial, so it's all web-based.
Okay,
so
let's look at that mapping function.
Yeah,
I want to see that.
Our advanced mapping is something we're quite proud of.
Okay, tell us what you can do with that mapping function.
Well, for mapping, you have a full we call it geographic information system, and it's going to be helping you work to a resource. So you can zoom into your resource. You can bring up a aerial of the resource. You can see your house right there on your lake.
It makes it very relevant.
Correct.
When I say that's my house.
You can also take go to a site, a water chemistry site, and get the water chemistry right from that map.
Okay.
So it becomes your home, your map home. In addition to this map, on all our water resource pages, if we wanted to go to a water resource page, we would see the map of that lake or that river reach or that spring, and then the information that is available on that. So if, like going to Lake Jackson, you would see.
I love the search function. I just go type in Jackson, I go right there.
That's right. And here we see the map of Lake Jackson, and the little blue droplets are water chemistry site. The red droplet is a hydrology site, and you can use the query tool to go right to our data download to download that data or graph the data or create a report of the data. When
you say that's a site, does that mean that's where we're testing, that's where we're pulling samples?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I wanted to bring up a point there that originally this was to bring in the city and the county data that we've collected as a central database, but now with working with USF, this has become a database that has many different data source providers. The state, the different departments within the state, the Northwest Water Management District, the U.S. Geological Survey, county and city, many different agencies are sampling just in that one lake. So each one of those drops represents a sampling station for a different agency.
I think people were amazed because when you see that, you're like, I had no idea there were all this testing was going on, and all this information was, one, collected and two, available to
and
me.
it's much easier to get through through the atlas than going to that individual state agency site, going deep into their web pages and pulling out data that may not be connected, as Jim said, spatially to a map where you can see what you want to get and go and grab it. I just recently, a scientist from Gainesville had an inquiry, and he wanted to find out where we were sampling, if anybody was sampling in the southern part of Leon County. And the first place I went to find out was the Water Atlas.
Terrific.
And I referred him to there so that then he can figure out what he needs from there.
Gotcha. I know we don't have time to go look at everything on there, but I can tell folks you get engaged in this. Just watching the pictures that our citizens have uploaded, that's the other great part. Our citizens have put pictures on here of the lakes where they live and visit. So I mean, it has been so interactive. Last very quick question. Why is this important? Why do citizens need access to this kind of information? Why is it important to you all and to people in our communities?
Well, for the citizens, it empowers them. It gives them the information to take charge of their own water resource, and it also allows them to see, what is the condition of my water resource and understand it, and then act on it. Clean up their yard, less fertilizer, maintain their area so that they're not contributing to an issue that might occur in a lake or a river, or the coastal area, because we cover coastal areas as well.
And how about from the stormwater perspective as well? From
the stormwater and government's perspective, it helps the environmental regulators make decisions. The data are there. Somebody once said studies just sit on a shelf, but these studies have been brought to life through this site where we can access them and then make decisions. From that.
I want to thank you both. I think this is a great tool. I appreciate the chance to tell our citizens more about it, because having the tool isn't any good unless people know to go and use it. So thank you for helping us get the word out about its effectiveness. We appreciate it. And thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Michelle.
And seriously, it's time for you now to go check this stuff out. Whether you want to find out more about paying your utility bill, whether you want to go visit the Water Atlas and find out what is close to my home, what are the conditions there. That's why we do this work. We want it to be convenient and easy for you. So take advantage of it, utilize it, and thanks as always for being an active part of this All-America City.